some of the coolest things about the Germany Frankfurt mission is that you are smack dab in the middle of Germany. So above you have the Berlin mission, below you have the Alpine German-speaking mission. And Frankfurt it's really, really long. There's as many people, it's really, really big. There's as many people in that mission as in the state of California. So 32 million people. And we have one mission to teach them also, 200-something missionaries. And California has a lot more than that. But another cool thing about the church there is that it is growing. Frankfurt now has 2 stakes, which it only had one when I got there. At the end of my mission, they split it into 2. There's a temple in Friedrichsdorf, which is about 45 minutes away from Frankfurt. And there's the church. Frankfurt is also the headquarters of the church in Europe. So you have a lot of different kinds of people living around Frankfurt who are working for the church, and from all parts of Europe, which is really cool. There's international wards and different kind of languages speaking wards. So there's a lot of unique opportunities there. I remember in the area there was a Spanish speaking branch that was started as well. There are, I believe, 6 stakes, and there was one district at the time, which was East Germany, which has now been moved is now part of the Berlin mission. So not only is that area of Frankfurt, which I just described, very concentrated, the Frankfurt mission covers so much area that you really move out far beyond Frankfurt itself. So I served at the very top of the mission. I had friends who served at the very bottom of the mission. So the mission really goes all the way up to the highest point is Münster, which is where I served, and goes all the way to the French and Holland borders, and then goes over to the east and cuts off around East Germany, which are some parts are in the Frankfurt mission still, but a lot of it's been moved to the Berlin mission. And then the southern part goes all the way down to Karlsruhe, which is not too far, but a good distance from Stuttgart, which is in the Alpine German-speaking mission. There's about 12,000 members in the Frankfurt mission. About 5,000 of them are active. So there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of reactivation, a lot of retention to do. As far as baptisms per year go, I remember we were doing between 110 and 132, which is like a ward a year. So the work is maybe not progressing as fast as, say, Brazil or anywhere in South America, but it is progressing. And there's a lot of reactivation going on, and there are wards being developed and grown, and new stakes being created. The Lord is hastening His work, and you see that definitely in Germany. If you've been called to serve in Germany, any mission, I would recommend reading F. Enzio Busch's book, Searching for the Living God, because it really describes why the German people are the way they are now. And I'll explain how they are in a second. F. Enzio Buscha, by the way, was very developed. Well, he's an Emeritus General Authority and mission president. And he did a lot to build the church in Dortmund, which is part of the Frankfurt mission, which is where I spent a lot of time. So Germans, because of World War II, have grown to be very skeptical of organizations and institutions and religion, any type of belief system, because they were affected so deeply by World War II and the Nazi regime. It's still there. You don't really talk about it, and you just don't. And it's starting to come out more and more 70 years later, but it's really interesting. It's kind of taboo to talk about World War II. It is still talked about, but it's not something you go around talking about with everybody you meet. Because of that, people will classify themselves as Catholic or evangelisch, Protestant, or Lutheran. There's basically only those two parties. It's Catholic and evangelisch, Protestant. But not a lot of people go to church unless it's Christmas or Easter. Then a lot of people go to church. They are very, very good at that. So you'll talk to a lot of people and they'll always be able to tell you what they are, but the majority of people are not practicing their belief as far as going to church. Maybe they are spiritual and living things in their personal lives, but as far as church attendance, being involved with religious organization, it's very minimal. There's also, because of, especially in Germany, I've heard this similar in other parts of the world, and I'm not trying to speak bad about any other religious organization, just to explain why people are the way they are. The Jehovah's Witnesses have been very aggressive in Germany, and door to door, and they don't. A big problem has been that they haven't respected people's beliefs, or when people have said no, and so it's really become a derogatory term to be a Jehovah's Witness in Germany. And again, I'm not speaking ill of them, but the problem is then it carries over to the missionaries, who then kind of receive that brand as Jehovah's Witnesses. So we were confused for them all the time, and also treated as such. And they really just don't trust institutions and organizations because of their past and because of things that have carried on. So as far as also what you talked about, things I wish I'd done better to help be a good missionary, bring people back, and teach. So there's a couple things. The key to missionary work is relationships with members, and relationships with people in general. If you want to be a good missionary, you need to learn how to love people no matter what they do and who they are, and be their friend. Missionary work is friendship. And one must be able to teach members and others how to do the same. And one of the best ways to do that is by being an example of that yourself. Members will have more power to move the work along than you do, because there's more of them, and they know more about the people that you're going to be working with than you do. And so if you will be able to pray and ask Heavenly Father what members you need to work with and become their friends. And that doesn't mean going over and chilling at their house. That means being involved with them, planning activities and events where they can invite people into their own home, and where the members can befriend these less active people, and people investigating the church. That is where you will have success. If you try to do it on your own, you will not be successful. So 1, relationships. Learn how to build and create relationships and enable other people to do the same. 2, you're going to hear this all the time. You're going to start rolling your eyes about it, maybe even before you get in the MTC, or before you leave the MTC. There is power in obedience. And as you seek to do what is right and what you know deep down is right, you will be enabled to help other people. Something I learned though as well, that if you were to do every single thing that we were expected to do in that little missionary white handbook, you wouldn't be able to do a ton. Why are you there? What is the purpose? It's to bring people to Christ. And something one of my companions, Elder Blackley, taught me was that people are the reason why we're there, and to help them and to love them. And they come first. And you do what you can to help them. And as you do, and do it the Lord's way, you will see success. There are times on your mission when you are done and you don't want to go farther. You're tired, you're beaten down, you're not having success. And I think another key to that is to just take a step back and say, Heavenly Father, I'm losing desire. And it's hard. This is hard. I need help. And He can grant you that desire. Just always turn to Heavenly Father, because you can't. It's His work, and you won't be able to do anything without His help, because all you are is a vessel. And it's great that you're there because you are a vessel, but He is the one providing that power, that spirit, and everything else that you have. I served from August 2012 to August 2014, and I served in Usingen, which was actually right by the temple, which was awesome. We got to go once every transfer for the 6 months I was there, and our ward building was actually right by the temple too, which was neat. So every Sunday I just got to go see the temple. And then I went to Dusseldorf, which was a major change. Usingen was like a bunch of small villages, like my trainer had described, and rolling hills. It was so beautiful. Sometimes we would be driving along, we had to like get out and take a picture of the sunset. It was unreal. Then I went to Dusseldorf, which is a city of about 500, 600,000. That was a major change. Imagine going from farm country to, a bigger city, bigger than I'd ever been in. Well, not visited, but lived in. And that was a major change. But it's also really neat because you dealt with a lot of different cultures and people there. And then I went to Munster, which was a city about 300,000, and it was a city with tons of students. It was like 80,000 students. And it was a beautiful city. In like 2005 or something, it was ranked one of the most beautiful cities in the world. So it's also known as the bike city. There's like 3 bikes per person there. So it was really neat as well. Fun to ride bikes there. Oh. I only served in 3 areas. Oh, okay. So I was in Usingen for 6 months, Dusseldorf for 6 months, and Munster for a year.